Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. When we think of some of the best Premier League performers this season, Kevin De Bruyne is on the top of the list. Manchester City are running away with the Premier League title, and Kevin De Bruyne has been the catalyst behind that. What makes De Bruyne so great? What separates De Bruyne from the rest? Why is he possibly, if not an official world-class player to this date? Don't worry, here at the interviews, we've got you covered. So on this edition of the interviews, we're going to analyze Kevin De Bruyne. So when we think about Kevin De Bruyne, obviously when he came to Manchester City, he was more of a number 10. He could play out wide, obviously, but his main position was in that central role where he tried to get space between the lines, and that was very key for Kevin De Bruyne. But we never knew if he could evolve, if he could play other positions. Sure, you could play him on the wing, but could you get the best out of him? Pep Guardiola came to Manchester City, kind of shifted everything. De Bruyne is not playing as a center of the attack behind the striker. He's not playing in that number 10 role, but what has changed is that City have changed. They've evolved. So with City evolving and Pep evolving, De Bruyne has evolved as well, and he's been, if not the standout player this season, and one of the key reasons why Manchester City are going to win the Premier League this season. So when we look at the board, we have Manchester City and what looks to be their default base shape in a 4-1-4-1. And we think about De Bruyne, he plays on the right, Silva plays on the left, and you kind of have to wonder what makes him so great. What does he do different? What separates him from the rest? Well, De Bruyne does three things very well, and these are three aspects that define a top class player, and he's an all-around attacker. He's very good at what he does, and he's more about power than precision, and that's why possibly the English game is best suited for him. But he did it in Germany as well, where he was a key player in Wolfsburg's not title winning season, but they won the cup and they finished second, and they gave Bayern Munich a run for their money. And although Bayern Munich ran away with the title, there was a performance there in January at the start of the year where Kevin De Bruyne dominated them at Wolfsburg. When we look at the board, De Bruyne is on the right, Silva's on the left. You have the wingers, you have the strikers. What does De Bruyne do well? Where he could play in any aspect of this. He seems to always find space between the lines. Him and Silva do it to the best of their ability, and it's crazy because they're number 10s playing in number 8 roles, and that's something you would never expect from either of these two men. When you look at their seasons or when you look at their careers a few years ago, you see them as number 10s, and there would probably be an issue who would start, who wouldn't, who would sit on the bench. But Pep Guardiola has found a way to make it work. They both sit in a central midfield role. You have the midfield blank here, you have the defensive bank here, and they seem to find spaces between the lines. We look at their loss against Liverpool, where City weren't that bad, and it was a pretty even game besides that 10-minute span, and De Bruyne was a key player. Why was that? He was finding space behind Wijnaldum and Emre Can, and he was getting the balls in between the lines, and that was very key, and that's what De Bruyne does very well. That's what we know him for. That's what he's renowned for. Silva does the same thing. What's the next aspect is that Kevin De Bruyne could drop deep. His passing range is phenomenal. He could play the long diagonals. He could play deep through balls into spaces here for the strikers, for the wingers to cut in. De Bruyne's passing range is phenomenal. That is key. But the other aspect that doesn't really get talked about with his passing is his crossing. And what De Bruyne does sometimes is that he'll drift into these spaces here, a deeper half space, sometimes called as the mix zone, and they could create 3v2s, and we've seen it happen all the time where if one is here, one is there, and if he wants to move central, then he stays wide and he bombs forward, and that's very key to what they're doing. But De Bruyne is arguably possibly the best crosser in the Premier League since David Beckham, because when he drops into these wide positions, he's able to deliver crosses into these zones, and with phenomenal pace and fizz, it's almost unstoppable to defend. You have to hope that you don't guide into your own net, and that's what De Bruyne does very well. He did this against Chelsea earlier this season at Stamford Bridge, where Silva and De Bruyne kind of moved into wider positions. They didn't know how to pick him up. He was key in dropping into these zones, creating 3v2s, as you can see right here, and then delivering dangerous crosses into the box. He's been doing it all season. It's why his assist tally is so high, and he possibly could be on the verge of breaking his own personal goal of assists, and it's one of the reasons because he gets into these positions, and it's so pivotal to what City do, because they could stretch the game in so many ways if they want to keep these players wide, and no one is really willing to get out and stop De Bruyne in that area. The same goes for Silva. We've seen it over the years. He's developed a great partnership with Leroy Sané. He had one with James Milner. This is what City do very well, and De Bruyne has just been key in what they do. They don't really need their fullbacks to deliver crosses. Their wingers don't have to worry about delivering crosses. They're able to play central. They're able to break in behind the lines because they have a assist magnet here in Kevin De Bruyne, and he's just able to deliver those crosses deep. The other aspect of De Bruyne's game is that he's a great runner from deep, and when you think about De Bruyne, the power, the strength, you don't really associate him with dribbling. He's not one of the finest dribblers in the game compared to other players like Eden Hazard or Messi because of their diminutive frame. But with De Bruyne, he'll pick up the ball from deep, he positions the ball where he wants to go, and then his body strength, he's able to shield off markers, push them off, dribble into tight spaces, and break forward. We saw that a lot against Liverpool. We look at that throughout. He's always the one leading the counterattacks. He's able to spring forward, dribble sometimes from beyond half, and he's looking to make that final pass. The one thing you could say about De Bruyne is that he doesn't score enough goals for the player of his talent, and he's actually working on that. He strikes the ball with power, it swerves and it's almost unstoppable to save it sometimes, and he does it with so much precision that you wonder if he's actually finessing it into the net and placing it into the net, but it's actual power. He's a great shooter. You don't want to give him space. You think about the goal against Chelsea where he kind of moves away from this position, plays a 1-2, runs around Cahill and fires an unstoppable shot past Thibaut Courtois. That is what you want to see more of from Kevin De Bruyne, but he's able to pick up the ball from these positions, dribble deep, and I think that's one of the key aspects to his game, and that's what makes him so great, is that you don't really know how to stop him, because if you play too deep, he could come out into these wide positions and dominate you. If you push men forward, he could get the ball from deep and dribble forward and play on the counterattack. If you want to press in midfield, De Bruyne is able to find the spaces between the lines. He's able to play the passes, and it's one of the key reasons why Pep Guardiola praises him so much, rates him so highly, and it's why he's been one of the key players of the Premier League and looks like he's possibly going to win PFA Player of the Year. But let me know what you guys think. Meet me in the comments below. Don't forget I upload videos every day, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And that was your daily dose of the interviews.